So now that we're comfortable using Office Forms, if we take a look at the Overflow menu or the triple dot option in the top right-hand corner, we have some advanced features. One thing we can select is who has the ability to respond to an Office form. We can lock this into our Office 365 education domain. We can even set a time slot for when students are able to start and when the Office form will close. We also have a checkbox to shuffle all questions. This would allow you to timestamp a form to open on a Monday, close on a Monday evening, and every student will get a different experience based on this overflow menu option in Office Forms. Now that we're comfortable with that triple dot overflow menu, let's explore another option within Office Forms. One of the most helpful features in Office Forms is to make a branching form. What this allows us to do is build a question where if students answer the question in one particular order, they will go down one path, and if they answer it in a different response, they go down a different path. So in the triple dot menu, I will tap on branching form. You'll notice here for last name and first name, we want them to simply move on to the next question. But for question 4, this is where the branching begins. So what I'm doing now is coding question 4, where if a student answer it incorrectly, they will go to question 6. If they answer it correctly, they will jump directly to question 5. So question 4, we're taking advantage of the branching form option. We're pushing correct answers to 5. We're pushing incorrect responses to question 6. This allows you to build in a customized path so students can demonstrate their thinking, explain why they answered a certain way, or give them a unique experience based on how they decided to answer the form. So what I will do now is jump over to the student perspective and fill out this branching form so we can get a sense of what it's going to look like when students experience a branching Office form. So I'm going to role play the student now, put in the student's last name and first name. Now the class period question, that does not involve branching. However, this question does. When I answer Boston, that is coded correctly. That pushes me to question 5, which is the correct response path. What I'll do now is fill this out again as another student. I'll fill out the last name, first name, and I will answer question 4 incorrectly, and that will push me past 5 to question 6. Notice here the language I've used for question 5 is correct and incorrect. Obviously, we would choose language that would not make it very clear to the student whether they got it right or wrong. And you can see all this information on the back end on the Responses tab or on the Excel spreadsheet that is created with every form. You can see here we have 2 responses. And when I scroll down, you'll notice where we have one student that answered 5, one student that answered 6. That's because my 2 students went down 2 separate paths. Now if we examine the Excel spreadsheet that's generated, you'll see that if a student bypassed a question by getting it right or wrong with the branching form feature, that cell will be empty. So notice here, the student that answered Boston jumped to 5. The student that answered Chicago, which was incorrect, skipped 5 and jumped right to 6. Another extremely helpful feature in Office Forms is the ability to build a form as a quiz. So notice when I'm on my landing page for Office Forms, I can select quiz, not just basic form. This allows the student to take a instantly graded Office form that's acting as a quiz or a formative assessment, and it allows the teachers to code the right answer into every question for some quick auto grading. Following the same procedure I demonstrated earlier, I'm going to quickly build 2 questions, one with a last name, one with a first name. This is to simply collect data so I know who's filling out my form when I examine the responses on the Excel spreadsheet. Now it's time to build some graded questions. I'm going to add a question, select multiple choice, and you can see here that in the bottom left-hand corner of the question, we have a point value box. As I put the correct answers and the distractors, I also have the ability to code the right answer, and I'll demonstrate that once all the responses are put in. See, we have a small checkbox, and if I tap the checkbox, that is coding it as a correct answer. I also have the ability to add customized feedback to students with that small pop-out discussion bubble icon that allows me to send a message directly to the student depending on which response they selected on this graded multiple choice question. So as I scroll down, I can now add a customized point value. And when the students now take this Office form, it will instantly be graded. I also have the ability to add open response questions. A bit of caution when building in auto-graded open response questions. We need to make sure that the response is very clear. In this instance, who is the first president of the United States? I coded the right answer as George Washington, but I might also want to add every possible permutation of the right answer that I think a student could put that I would reasonably consider the right answer. Now that this form is built, I'm going to quickly push this out and take this as a student. Notice from the triple dot overflow menu, there are some new settings that allow me to customize the experience. The most important one when selecting the quiz feature is when the results will be shared with the students. That little switch on the top right-hand corner decides whether they get the results immediately or you distribute them later. Now I'm going to go to the live form, fill this out as a student, and we can see what the student is going to experience on the quiz version of an Office form. Again, I'm quickly filling this out, and for question 3, we can see that that's worth 5 points. And Boston is the correct answer. Question 4, worth 5 points. George Washington is the correct answer. And notice the student knows immediately how they did, because when I went into my settings of my quiz Office form, I set it up so the students would know immediately what the results were. Now I'm taking this again as student number 2. Question 3 is incorrect. You can see the student gets immediate feedback. Question 4 is correct, even though student number 2 filled it out differently because as the teacher, I coded multiple right answers into that open response question. Back to the Office form from the teacher perspective. I can review the answers. That's a new tab because of the quiz function, and I can scroll through my students and see how each student did. I also have the ability to make adjustments to the results if they answered an open response correctly or if I had a longer open response question that I wanted to hand grade. I also have the ability now to distribute these grades to the students if I didn't give them immediate feedback. We can see the option to post scores, and that will allow me to push the grade directly to the student based on the email that was collected from our Office 365 education domain. I'm selecting the students, posting the scores, and both of those students will get the results pushed to their email. Thanks for watching this EdTech Teacher video tutorial on creating quizzes with Office forms.